In this episode, you'll discover how to use newsjacking to tap into a new podcast audience. My name is Anthony Winnering.
I'm Tygo O'Shea.
So look, Tygo, a year ago now, we went to a show called the London Show. Was it called London Show?
It was called the podcast show. It was in London.
It was eventful, to say the least.
Yeah.
So eventful
that in your head. It was such a creative name, wasn't it?
But every year there's a conference that's held in London and it's called the Podcast Show, where a bunch of podcasters, entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, and entertainers come to London, and there's a conference where different people talk about different things in the podcasting world. So me and Ty, what we did, we decided, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go to this actual show itself and record and interview other podcasters and use it as part of our content strategy to interview a bunch of different people.
We also stuck QR codes on t-shirts and walked around like big barcodes getting people to scan us for a free copy of our book. But that's besides the point. We did do a lot of interviews. It was really fun. We spoke to a lot of huge podcasters, and it was very insightful seeing the different ways they grew, right?
And one of the huge shows we spoke to were hosts of the Self-Care Club. And it's, again, what it sounds like is a podcast all about self-care. I think they were getting around 300,000 monthly downloads or something like that, something ridiculous. So, of course, we took the time and interviewed them, picked their brains, asked them a few questions. And one of the questions I asked them, and don't worry, we're going to get into exactly what the hell this has to do with newsjacking in just a second. But one of the questions I asked them was, hey, look, I'm super curious. You've grown your show tremendously. Like, what advice would you give someone, or I guess, what do you think has really caused the growth to be so exponential for you guys over the last few months? And they're like, stopped, thought for a couple of seconds. And what they said was, we always make sure to incorporate timely and relevant content into our podcast content strategy. And that's how we were mind blown. I was expecting something about social media or an exposure or getting high profile guests on. But no, they said explicitly, we always make sure to cover timely and relevant content on our podcast. So what the hell does that actually mean? And what the hell has that got to do with newsjacking? Most podcasters have a normal content strategy. We speak to a guest, or we speak to our clients, or we have some ideas we want to share with our audience. Now, while this is great and it's part of our evergreen content that stays there for a while, it doesn't allow us to tap into a new audience. It doesn't allow us to hijack the news trend, what's current and what's trending in our industry right now, and take advantage of those trending topics by us covering these topics on the show.
And why, it might seem a bit obvious, but I guess really just to lay this down, why is it that covering trending topics and news does work to get you exposure? Why does that work so well?
Because you're essentially riding this wave, right? Because you can pinpoint what's hot and trending right now. For example, let's say your podcast about investing and we're in a bull market. So let's say crypto was booming, right? Even if you're not necessarily in crypto, it's still worth you exploring that as a topic, because you know that currently right now, there's a huge frenzy around this topic that's within the same industry as you. So by you covering that topic on the podcast, you're able to ride that wave and also have your name show up as an authority talking about this topic with tons of search for this topic.
So say, for example, I am an investor and I don't focus on crypto. I like stocks, I like options, whatever. But crypto's in the news and I have a look at it just because it's related to investing. So it piques my interest. A lot of people are talking about it. I'm likely to search for crypto. And if you cover crypto on your podcast just for that episode, even though your show is actually more so about stock investing, you're going to get me, a stock investor, to find your podcast through crypto because I was searching for it at the time. That's what you're saying, right? So it's a way to expand your reach to a larger portion of an audience who might not be searching the right terms to find your content on a different day, but are in fact very valid members of your target audience. It's like a boost on reach and SEO, basically, because the topic has a lot more interest, and it has a lot more interest from people within your pool of audience.
That's it. And one of the lessons that I learned, that I'm currently learning, I'm not going to say learned, this idea of that money flows. Now you might be thinking, what the hell is that?
That's a bit of a that's a bit of a... Okay, I'll stay with it.
But bear with me. Money flows, right? That's all money does. Transactions are happening all day, every day, whether that's in business, whether that's in life. Money's constantly flowing. Do you know what else flows, Tigers? What else? Attention, Tig. That's what else flows. The news, media, attention.
Okay.
Attention's flowing from one topic to another within your industry right now. There's news happening in your industry right now. That directs people's attention. That directs what people are interested in hearing more about. That directs people's curiosity. So when you can position your podcast as a thing that's there covering these topical and trending topics, when it's relevant, you're positioning your show as the podcast that's going to capture that attention. Rather than you trying to generate attention and convince new listeners on social media when you promote, you can simply, again, cover the right topics, have the right keywords in your podcast titles for podcast SEO, so you rank for the right search term. So now when all of that traffic goes onto Apple and Spotify and you're covering those hot and trending topics, guess who's positioned as the solution? Positioned as a podcast people should listen to.
I'm going with the flow of your explanation. I like it. That makes a lot of sense. So you're saying essentially ride the flow of attention, expand maybe into a topic that's not necessarily completely aligned with your content strategy, but is relevant and there is an audience overlap. If it is aligned, then even better. But you can expand a little bit in an exception because the attention is flowing and it's going to work out in your favor because you're going to position yourself in front of the right people, and actually a lot more of them than normal.
Yeah. Now I want to bang two things out, okay? Because I know some people might have a piss already saying like, guys, look, I don't want to be on this hamster wheel creating content and just hopping on trends. I get it. Trust me, I get it. I don't think that's the best idea either. But what I will say is...
You saying I have to TikTok dance, Anthony? I'm a business owner.
Absolutely not. But what I am saying is it's important to think about different ways that you can give yourself a boost, allow yourself to tap into a new audience, play the game that is content creation, and understand that things come in waves. Opportunities come like the waves, and it's up to us to ride those waves to the shore, sipping our pina colada or whatever drink that you have with a smile on your face, because guess what? You took advantage of an opportunity to leverage a hot and trending topic in your industry. So it's a balance, because I don't believe in just going all in on the news and trending topics and being a trend hopper, but I do think it's relevant to incorporate it as part of your strategy once in a while, so you have the relevant and timely content that allows you to capture and tap into a new audience, but you have your evergreen content that allows you to have that bingeability. So when people discover you through timely content and then they look at your back catalog, your episodes, they're like, holy crap, this show's made for me. There's so much gold here. And you want to balance and play with these two components.
Okay. I'm liking it. And as always, you have a way with words, even, this early in the morning in the UK. Why did we decide to do an episode on this today? You mentioned we went to the podcast show about a year ago to the week. Why today? Why is this top of mind? Are you newsjacking, or was there something? Did something remind you about it? Because it was your suggestion.
Yeah, for sure. So yesterday, Tug, we had a call with a guy called Edwin. He's crushing in the podcast in space. He's getting 60,000 monthly downloads, absolutely killing it. And what he does, he incorporates newsjacking, this strategy, as part of his strategy to tap into a new audience. And he's at a stage, again, where he's growing consistently month after month. And I was like, oh my God, this is a trend that I keep seeing, that the top podcasters, creators, entrepreneurs within the space, they really understand how to use news, timely and relevant content going on right now to tap into a new audience.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to think from the mind of our listeners now. And I know, they're not necessarily just podcasters or solely creators. They're more so entrepreneurs and business owners with podcasts as another arm. So what's the trade-off here? Because I know for Edwin, to your point a minute ago about you don't just have to just be a trend hopper and be at the mercy of whatever's trending. Like, you want your overall evergreen, bingeable content strategy, and then you want newsjacking to complement it as an extra when the time comes. That's what Edwin did. So he had his content strategy, he stuck by that, and he also made the extra effort to, sometimes even if it was an extra episode, to cover things as they came out when it was like top of mind, big news in his space. But this is extra work, right? So what would you say to listeners right now who might be thinking, this is great, but look, I'm strapped for time. I barely have enough time to do my one interview a week or my 2 episodes a week. I don't think it's realistic for me to make extra time off the cuff when there's big news. What would you say?
That's a great question. I guess my question would be, what's the goal of the podcast? What are you trying to do here? And if you want to grow faster and again tap into a new audience, what you're currently doing working as well as it could be, and what other things could you do? To be honest with you, yeah, it is going to take a bit more time. It might cause some scheduling issues. And if it's not possible, it's not possible. But my encouragement would be, how can we make it more possible? Because entrepreneurs, we get trapped in this mindset of, I've got my schedule, I'm super busy. The podcast is a priority, but like, how much of a priority? But it's okay, no, if we want to build an audience and consistently grow the show, there are certain trade-offs you might have to make. It might mean that when a big news happens, even if it's a quick 5 to 10 minute episode that you do on this trending topic, just get it done and get it out of the way. Because again, these waves, they come once in a while. So you haven't got to be a whore for massive trends. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying, when these trends do come and they're clear as day within your industry and it's hot and it's trending and there's going to be a ton of search, how can we figure out creative ways of taking advantage of those trends? Again, think 5 to 10 minutes of you talking about this rapidly, covering it, and putting on the identity of like, I'm a content creator. What would they do to grow? We're a business owner. We need attention. We need listeners. We need an audience if we want to monetize and turn listeners into clients. This is a very simple and straightforward way of getting amazing results and tapping into a new audience without you constantly relying on evergreen content, thinking more about timely and relevant content. So I guess to round things off, newsjacking is a process where we take advantage of hot and trending topics within our industry right now. For you, I'm not saying become a trend whore, pardon my French. I don't want that for you. I want you riding those waves of opportunities when they come in your industry. The better in alignment the trends are to your industry, the better it's going to be for retention. You're retaining those new listeners, getting them coming back for more. You want to have a mix of the two. Don't get stuck on this hamster wheel of current content because you won't keep up with your busy schedule. Have a balance of newsjacking content, timely and relevant, and evergreen content to keep people binging your content and back catalog. So ask yourself, what's trending right now and how can I hop on this next trend?